to the BP Mindcast. I'm Jonathan Bartlett, your host. These podcasts cover a wide variety of topics from a conservative academic viewpoint. Some you'll find interesting, some you won't. However, I plan on keeping these short enough that you can easily enjoy what you like, and hopefully I won't keep you too long for those that you don't. This is continuing in a series of our podcasts, criticizing the book The Death of Expertise. In the last few podcasts, I've discussed in general why even if you have expertise, that it doesn't necessarily mean that you are that your expertise actually is the most important thing for any particular decision. But today I actually want to turn to something a little more disturbing, and that is the fact that our current expert class has definite problems. I mean, there are really um, there are fundamental issues with the people and the groups that form the experts in our class, such that they really are not themselves, they have not shown themselves to be trustworthy. If you're going to throw yourself out as an expert, we expect that your advice in general is going to be dispassionate, focus on the facts, and be humble enough to admit when the facts don't go your direction, and also admit when the facts um, when the facts don't give any conclusive direction, and also have enough wisdom to understand how the facts, how they add up, how they work together, and just have a general understanding of your discipline. So to start out with, I want to criticize what I view as a very big issue in our current expert class, and that is the lack of philosophy. So first of all, an expert is someone who's supposed to have a PhD, and PhD is supposed to stand for Doctor of Philosophy. That's what the PhD stands for. Um, and so the uh, the problem is that um, the doctor is actually often the doctors. A doctor means teacher in Latin. So the experts are supposed to be experts in the philosophy of their area. But I've actually found that a lot of times the experts actually, one thing that they don't train in hardly any discipline anymore is the underlying philosophy of the discipline. How do things really go together at their core? And I find expert after expert really doesn't have a core grasp on how the things work at their lowest level. They know uh, a lot of isolated facts. They know a lot of, they've read a lot of books, but really at their core, they oftentimes they haven't asked the deep questions that's required of someone who has a doctor of philosophy. Um, but even more problematic is that a lot of professions actually have literally perpetrated fraud on the public. Um, for example, um, we've had the food pyramid, and the food pyramid was actually literally a fraud perpetrated on the public by experts. Um, and in fact, the entire role of carbohydrates in the diet, um, and the role of fats in the diet has been, um, all of the all of the studies from it have literally over, in this the uh, the history of the subject has been rife with fraudulent studies. Um, and so anyway, this is the medical establishment, which is supposed to be the experts that we trust, and this is systematic. This is the whole shebang. They asked us to trust them. They said they're the experts, we should trust them. They put it on the government, so the government enforced a lot of this, and it turned out that it was all a giant lie. And so the expert class themselves were the ones to perpetrate this. And so anyway, that's a real problem, and this is not an isolated incident. Um, maybe I should come up with a list of other ones, but there are quite a few times where experts have specifically been fraudulent in order to push their own agenda. Let me give you one other that's kind of that mixes in well. The creation trial. A lot of you are familiar with the Arkansas creation trial, and there was a testimony of a philosopher of science. I forget his name at the moment, but anyway, he said at the trial that he testified that there were definitive markers of what can be considered science and what can be considered pseudoscience. And that's what he testified to at the trial. And that actually became public dogma for a very long time. Well, it turns out that it was entirely false. And it's not just that he got it wrong, it's that he literally lied under oath because he didn't want the creationists to win. So he's actually said that himself. He's like, what do you want me to do? Say that no, there isn't a strict division between science and non-science and let the creationists win? Is that what you wanted? And so he's literally being fraudulent against the public in order to get his own ideas, his own agenda installed. And again, I wish I could say that these were just one-off circumstances, but as he has himself written, there isn't a clear-cut line between science and non-science, and he knew that at the time. He just refused to say so because he didn't like the implications of it. And there's whole disciplines who do this, and I wish I could say that it weren't so. See, my mom, by and large, I come from a family that a lot of them follow conventional wisdom quite a bit, and I wish that we lived in a world that my mom thought we lived in, where we really could trust what the people said was conventional wisdom, that it was solid, and why would they say something different if it weren't so? But that's not the world that we live in, and so I blame a lot of the anti-intellectualism in America on the intellectual class, because they themselves have been acting in a way to cause themselves disrepute. So if there's a problem with anti-intellectualism in America, the problem stems from the intellectuals themselves. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed your time on BP Mindcast. Until next time, keep thinking.